This is the Business of Apps podcast, bringing you actionable insights from the leaders of the global app industry and the world's fastest growing apps. You can find more app news, data, and analysis over at businessofapps.com.
Welcome to the Business of Apps podcast. On this show, we invite app industry professionals to cover various topics, and we promise to do our best to keep it both insightful but brief. In this episode, we have Erin Webster-Shaller, VP Marketing at Lose It. Erin, welcome to the Business of Apps podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Terrific, Erin. Thank you for coming on the show. All right. A quick experiment. Try to recall apps on your smartphone. Have you been using those apps since the inception of the App Store? And now, I'm not talking about the native iOS apps. No. Apps developed not by Apple. Can you think of any? If you do have some, at least one, it means the app hasn't lost your trust and trust of so many other people. It just works for you all. And that's why, to this day, it is still on the market. Today, we were talking about one of the apps from the early days of the Apple's App Store that is still out there and has more than 2 million people using it regularly. But first, before anything else, Erin, please tell us about yourself.
Yeah, it's a great intro. It's as I was hearing you, I was trying to follow along and think of apps that I had way back in the day. It's a harder thought process than you might imagine. So pretty incredible what Lose It has been able to do. But I haven't been here since 2008, since the company was started. I've been with the company for 5 years. I started in the more brand, content, social side of marketing. And then in the last 2 years, I have recently taken on the full vision of our marketing engine. Before I joined Lose It, I spent some time at a biotech company here in Boston that was looking to make wearable technology that was more like a Band-Aid, but had the functionality of a Fitbit. Really cool technology. I learned a lot about a lot of different industries, which is kind of where my passions lie. I went to school at Quinnipiac University and got a degree in biomedical marketing before staying on an extra year to get my MBA. So I've always been really fascinated by the intersection of healthcare, technology, and business. And so the last couple companies I've been at have been a really fun mix of all those different elements.
That's a really exciting area, biotech. I think healthcare is the remaining huge industry that is yet to be disrupted in a good way. Hopefully not in the way that, transportation was disrupted by Uber, but really pushing the envelope forward and, making it better, more convenient and easier and more efficient for all of us. So let's talk about the Lose It, the app you guys have been growing on the market for 14 years. It's like a teenager by today. How did you guys start back then?
Yeah, so when Apple first opened up the ability for third-party developers to create an application, one of our co-founders, JJ Allaire, was looking for a tool that he could use to help himself in his own weight loss. He had been using manual tracking and Excel sheets and thought, well, here's this cool new platform. I'm an engineer. I love building things. Let me just see if I can build a calculator that works as an app and gives more value than what I do manually on my own. So we kind of spun it up, not really thinking too much about it, as so I've been told, and was using the app for his own use, but had to publish it on the App Store in order to, build the product. He checked the email inbox that they had set up, just because you had to set up an email account in order to publish an app. And there were hundreds, if not thousands, of emails from people who had used the product and loved it and either wanted to tell them about their success or had ideas. And I think JJ immediately realized, oh, there's a business here. And so he hired Charles Teague, who was our CEO for very many years, to turn this idea into a company. And so that was, again, right around the start of the App Store. And since then, the company has grown sustainably, we've grown profitably, and we've remained really small and nimble, which is one of the things that has really differentiated us in the fitness and weight loss app space. If you know the industry, a lot of our competitors, MyFitnessPal, Noom, have taken a much different growth route of raising a lot of money,
Right.
looking to be more of that unicorn hyper growth type of strategy. And Lose It stayed small. We have 46 full-time employees right now, and that's 14 years after the company was started. And so that's been the path for the last 14 years, as I mentioned. And actually, just 2 weeks ago, we announced that the company was acquired, which is really exciting for us because the whole company was employee and founder owned. So lots of liquidity for everybody on the team. And so now we're a part of the Everyday Health Group, which is a division of the publicly traded company Ziff Davis. So it's been a really interesting ride for me over the last 5 years.
Yeah, 14 years. So it looks like this is the next stage in your existence, the adulthood, so to speak.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
exciting
that's
for us just to pile onto that because so much of our growth has been driven by our organic acquisition. And I'll talk about this a little later on, but we were really finding that growing organically has been challenging over the last couple of years with the market dynamics and weight losses changing. Yeah, so this acquisition, I think, will really help us grow and open up a lot of new channels for us to be able to grow.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, if initially your CEO didn't spot the idea for himself that was that did work for him in person, I find this story to be recurring in successful apps. The chances are that it's always about the personal story behind the app. Somebody's looking for a solution, just couldn't help of wouldn't be great if there was an app that can do this thing for me. And it turned out it didn't exist, so he or she decided, let's try to do it myself. And here we go, 14 years later, it's still there, it's still working for so many people. I think many of those folks do think of this app like Uber for transportation, or the notes app for taking notes, something that just regularly part of their daily life. Now, this May, you are part of the App Promotion Summit New York City. And on the stage, you laid out 7 strategies that allowed your brand not only to stay afloat for 14 years, as we've just said, but to have 2 million monthly active users. So let's walk our listeners through those, and starting with what you called maintain an effective product.
Yeah, totally. This is the heart of how Lose It has not only survived 14 years, but been successful in the process. And it really ties back to what you just mentioned, Art, that the company was founded on such a need of that there were no helpful solutions out there in the market to make calorie tracking and weight loss easier. And so that has been at the center of our mission since day one. So we've had over 50 million users download the product, and collectively they've lost over 120 million pounds. So both, right, that the product needed to be easy to use, but also effective. Weight loss is one of those things that, sure, you could maybe have fun logging your food if we made the experience totally awesome.
Right.
But if the scale wasn't moving, you would move on. So it was really kind of balancing both of these sides of delivering an effective product to users. And 10 million people will open our app this year. Many of those users are returning. They've been with Lose It before, because weight loss is such an episodic experience. We really needed to make sure that every time a user was coming back to the product, they were finding success, getting back in healthy habits, even if they didn't reach their goal weight, that they had a positive experience with the product. And so we monitor average weight loss per user for all of the experiments that we run, all the new features that we develop, just to make sure that every decision we make is being measured against how successful our users are with that new feature.
By the way, are you aware of any veterans of the app, people who have been using the app for years and years? Are there any folks who are from, probably not the day one, but, who've been using it for 5, 6 years?
Oh yeah, we see them periodically. We've hired some of them.
Oh, that's
So
great.
our user base has been one of our best sources of recruitment. And then periodically on social media, or we'll get emails of people who take screenshots every day that you log. There's like a counter, a streak counter. And so we'll get people like, here, I'm on 1,000 days, I'm on, X number of days. I think we started the streaks a few years into the business, and there are some people that have suspiciously long streaks who maybe went back and counted before it was a feature. But yes, we do have some fans who have been around for a long time, and they do like to reach out. It's so fun for us to see those users and cheer them on along their journey.
Yeah, it just goes to say that you have to stay the course. Remember what the app should do for your app user. It should be tangible thing that your app delivers over and over. And if it's not there, if it doesn't work, no fancy graphics, your UI tricks will trick the people to still use the app. It has to deliver.
The app industry is vast. To navigate this space, you need a directory to look up suppliers and partners, and you need to know who are the best. Visit our marketplace directory at businessofapps.com/marketplace/podcast. And now, back to the show.
Now, let's move on. Next up is prioritize user experience. I feel like despite it's been said so much, the importance can be repeated. But let's reinforce the importance of that specific strategy. Please tell me about the journey with the app users over the years.
Yeah, I think in order to talk about the user experience, it's good to remind ourselves of what the goal of our users is with our product, right? Like, we're not a gaming app where our goal is to, or the user's goal is to spend as much time as they can in the app, right? Our users are
Exactly.
coming to lose it to spend as little time as possible in most cases, right? If it takes more
Mhm.
than 30 seconds to log your breakfast, the friction in the rest of your life is going to be a lot harder to come back in the next day. So our goal as a company and a team is to try to make the app as frictionless as possible, and reduce the time to complete the action that the user is most likely coming in to do, which is log a food. So we had an entire team for almost 2 years focused on the logging experience and the search experience to really, really get clear on how much we can improve that part of the user experience. And so again, when we experiment or add in new marketing features or new product features, one of the key metrics alongside weight loss that we look at is day 2 retention and number of foods logged, to make sure that everything that we're adding into the app or changing about the app isn't negatively impacting somebody's likelihood to come back the next day or somebody's ability to log their next meal. So it really is more of a mindset, right? Keeping that, making sure that there's processes in place in your experiment reports or the way you build and develop products, that the user experience is front and center. The other thing I'll just touch on real quick with user experience is the way that we think about building new products and features. So I mentioned that we've hired a lot of our former users. A lot of the people on staff have either used Lose It or have their own history of weight loss, and so can really empathize and understand what it's like to go on a weight loss journey. But not every weight loss journey is the same. And so we also spend a lot of time, our product management team does, and talking to members, surveying them, and then experimenting. Even if we think that something's going to be awesome, we always check ourselves with experimentation to make sure that the feature that we're building really does help users in the way that we think it is.
Yeah, that's a smart approach, because this is the psychology territory. You shouldn't assume that your approach of people who join your company who are dealing with this problem themselves can be just replicated to how many millions of users you have for your application out there, and make sure that it actually, being able to work for people with a completely different mindset. It's it's not on psychology. It's I mean, it's not on technology. It's human psychology. You have to, factor in both. Now, it is a familiar story for so many app developers. Some of your app user base pays you for a copy of your app. Somebody pays for an app purchase. It can be a subscription. And some use the app for free with a limited functionality. So let's talk about the next ingredient in your recipe, active free user base. How have you been dealing with this, paid versus free app user equation?
Yes, and I love the recipe analogy. This is an important ingredient. And when you look at the competitive landscape of companies that we've been competing with over the last 14 years, we've all taken very different approaches to the free versus premium landscape. Where do you draw that line? And for Lose It, I think the early team saw early on the value of having a really robust free product that even if we weren't monetizing those users through a premium subscription, and sometimes we weren't running ads, so we weren't monetizing those users at all, but they were doing a lot of our marketing for us. They were hopefully being successful, telling their friends and family about the app. The next family cookout, everyone asks, "You look amazing." There's a lot of free word of mouth marketing. There's customer testimonials that we lean on heavily in our PR efforts. There's social interactions within the app that they are really fueling and building this great community within the product and even outside on external channels. So even if we weren't monetizing these users, we were still getting a lot of marketing value out of them. And so we've played with that line a little bit over the years of exactly what features are free and exactly what features are premium. But the strategy has remained largely the same, that our free product should be able to allow users to be successful in a calorie tracking weight loss journey, and that our premium product and any additional paid products that we develop should really be tailored to people who want to go above and beyond. So we really make sure that no changes we make to the free experience should prohibit users from being able to be successful in a weight loss journey, so that we can continue to get a lot of that great marketing value out of those users.
So they even, even the core basic product should deliver what you're promising, what the premise of the app. Otherwise, the word of mouth will not work, and your trust to let people to use the app for free will not pay off, because people will not be getting that experience you want them to have. And there will be no incentive for them to share the app with somebody else, because it doesn't work for me. Why should I share it with somebody else? But it just tells me that there's always like two big buckets of users. Some people have a dedication, time, need to use the app within certain limits. There are people who are willing to commit more time. It can be even games. We know about the core gaming industry, where people spend the entire life on a game, or just a few seconds, and that may be applicable to even like the application you guys have been having on the market for so many years. Some people are just feeling the need or have the capacity to spend that much time, and they don't need any extra time to spend on the app because it just works for them. But for some people, they really have to invest much more, and there's a great reason for them to pay for that extra functionality. Now, there are apps in the market that help people to deal with issues in their life, like dealing with stress, sleep problems, staying in shape. So your next strategy on the list is empower and encourage. So tell me, please, what did it take to help your app users to overcome difficulties of losing weight?
Yeah, this is an interesting one, and something that, again, we've seen different products in this space tackle differently. But really the strategy behind this ingredient, if you will, is that it ties back to the nature of a weight loss journey, right? Most people who start a weight loss journey with Lose It on any given day will not reach their goal. most people will not lose 5 pounds, just the nature of how hard it is to lose weight. But that doesn't mean that those people can't feel something positive about our app experience or feel proud of themselves, even if they lose 1 pound or realize that their favorite snack maybe isn't working towards their health goals. Or, there's so many little micro goals that people and benefits that people can get out of starting a weight loss journey, that as a company, we've really tried to think about how we can have a positive impact on those users, knowing that most of them will not reach their goal with us. And so there's some really tactical things that we've done in the product experience to build that encouragement and engagement and empowerment engine. One is when you do log a weight loss, there's this little pop-up that comes up and celebrates you and relates your weight loss to a thing like 10 pounds is about the size of an average watermelon. There's this great little GIF that is like a dancing watermelon, just something fun, right? And then same thing with that streak element, right? Like if you've come in and you've logged for 5 days, that's something to celebrate, and let's put those celebration moments in the product to try to help build that positive feeling as users are going through their weight loss journey that we know is not an easy thing all the time.
Yeah, because it's maybe hard for many people to set reasonable goals, something that you can actually achieve beforehand. So once they start using the product and they can see what they actually achieve over the time, but that the app will start working for them, but they need to get to that point where they see like what is achievable actually. What are their pace? What are the speed of losing weight? And you have to encourage people to continue to use the app. Don't give up.
Right. That's something that we've gotten a little bit smarter at over the last year or so. We've been focusing more on building strong habits early on in the user experience instead of being so focused on the goal that might be 6 months away. The best signal for success is just logging every day. Even if you log every day and you're not under your calorie budget, you're a lot more likely to reach your goal than somebody who is under their calorie budget for a week and then takes a week off and then comes back for a week. So we've really tried to change the way we think internally, and then also build these like features in the product to help people with setting these habits early on in the journey so that they get used to just logging everything. The weight loss will come. So yeah, really interesting kind of mental shift of breaking down large goals into smaller chunks.
Gotcha. Now, when you design a mobile app, you always need to be able to model your app user's journey of using that app, meaning what expectations should your app users have about the app at different stages? So the next item on the list is key promotion times. Please tell us, so what is this one about? Promotion times.
Key promotion times. It's kind of secret sounding, isn't it?
Yep.
Similar to this idea of empowering and engaging, there are certain parts on a weight loss journey where you're feeling more motivated, more bought into the idea that you're going to be successful, and more likely to be looking for advanced feature sets, i.e. an upgrade to our premium product, to help you on your journey. And so what we've done as a marketing team over the last few years is really trying out all of these different points on the user journey to see when somebody is most likely to upgrade their experience to the premium product. And our whole marketing engine is built around those high motivation times. I'll give you an example, right? If you're starting a weight loss journey and you download a product for the first time, we ask you all these questions in onboarding. We suggest a plan that's customized to your height, your weight, your goals. You're a lot more likely to buy premium on that day in that session than you are the next time you come back in, right? You're big on motivation. You just downloaded this app. Like you're committing, this is going to be it. So that's a really clear one where we spent a lot of time testing that onboarding flow, testing that promotional experience. The first session is a really important time for us because that's when most of our users are willing to upgrade to a premium product. But there's other ones, right? Like you see your first pound lost, maybe that at that point you say, oh, wow, okay, this app actually is working for me. Now I'm willing to commit to the $40 a year product. Or maybe you come back after being away for a couple of weeks, maybe that's the time. So there's all these points on a user journey that we have found that our marketing efforts land better and our users are more likely to upgrade. And so again, the whole engine is built around those specific times in the user journey.
Yeah, now I see you find those high moments when the likelihood of somebody to actually commit to pay for the app are higher than average, or some of them kind of make sense in general. Some of them should be worked out experimentally through A/B testing, probably just to find those extra points. I see now. Now, data is, speaking of doing A/B testing, data is the blood of today's economy. Somebody lamented a few years ago. Erin, tell me about your data-driven decision-making process. Any lessons you probably can share about it?
Yeah, this has been one of the things that I have learned the most at my time at Lose It, I think, is coming from the brand world of marketing, learning to be a lot more data-driven, and the way that I think about our strategies and make decisions has been really fun learning experience. And something that Lose It, I think, is pretty advanced in, just purely because we've been around for so long. So much of experimentation and this idea of data-driven decision-making is around finding the places where it might not be working for you as expected, and then going and solving those problems. But as a business, I'll just talk a little bit about how we've set ourselves up. We have a very strong data science team that our growth marketing team works very closely with. Every experiment that we run is analyzed by a data scientist. We get a few different statistical models to understand what is happening, like what is the impact on the user experience from that treatment. And each week we are running at least one new user test. So every 7 days, we've got a new experiment going on in the product. Could be at different places and on different cohorts, but experimentation is really a part of our culture. And I think the other thing that is really cool about how Lose It operates is that that data science and statistical analysis knowledge is really encouraged across the company. So not just data scientists know how to read statistical reports, the whole marketing team knows how to do that. And it's something that is really part of our lexicon and the way that we make decisions at the business.
So no guessing, no gut feeling driven decisions, right?
Every once in a while we'll throw one in, but it's very rare.
Yeah, I see. There may be a point where you're out of data and you have to make a decision anyway. Yeah, but I see it. Those moments are rare. Otherwise, you will be you will be just walking in the dark, and that's not a good long-term business strategy to sustain in the market. Totally should be data-driven decisions are being made. Now, finally, every great app has a great team behind that app. So the last item on your list is stay selective and nimble. So let's spend this bit of a chunk of time talking about the team behind the app.
Yeah, and this is another one of those things that I've learned a lot over my tenure at Lose It is I'm really good at saying no to things now. The company really has a very strong culture of prioritization and intentionally deciding not to work on things that might definitely drive value for the business, but that could be a distraction from the 3 or 4 things that we are committing to doing throughout the year. And we have to be that way because of how small the team is. So 46 full-time employees, that is heavily weighted to the engineering team. We've got most of our employees are on the engineering side. And, with a team that small, you can't do everything. And we found over the years that by trying to take on too much, we end up getting distracted and not actually making progress on the things that we want to be moving towards. So The way we hire is really interesting as well. We look to hire people who have the right attitudes and maybe a broader skill set that we are able to plug into lots of different strategies, as the company kind of picks those 3 or 4 things each year to focus on, so that we have more utility players on the team instead of really deep specialists. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that is really at the core of Lose Its culture, because we have grown slowly, we have grown sustainably, profitably. We've intentionally decided not to do things that maybe would expedite our growth, but require us to raise a lot of capital or hire a massive team. And it's worked out pretty well for us, I think, so far. So it'll be interesting to see how this changes, as we're part of a larger organization now. But I hope that this part of our culture stays intact.
That's a great quality and sounds familiar to me. Yeah, now I remember where I heard it before. Steve Jobs used to say the quality of being able to say no is very important in your business. Even if you know for sure how you're going to do it, resources, people, technology, just know that there are times that you have to say no to certain things that you eagerly want to do that thing, but it's going to distract you. Just being able to say no and just put it away. Okay, that was the last item on the recipe from your APS keynote, and now we're going to be transitioning to the second part of the show, which is smaller but neat. It's just a quick questions I'm asking every guest on the show, so I can draw a better picture of that person for the audience. Okay, here we go.
Right.
Question number 1: what smartphone do you have now? Have you been switching between iOS and Android, or just staying one side all the time?
I'm a diehard iOS fan. I have an Android phone that I use to test the app, but that's the only time I'm ever on that platform. I think I have an iOS 10X or something right now, but very into the Apple ecosystem.
Got it. Now, back in time, do you remember your first mobile phone?
I think it was a flip phone, one of those Nokia Razor flips. It was pink. I do not like the color pink. It was a hand-me-down from a cousin, so but it was a phone, so I was super excited about it.
Yeah, for sure. I can imagine Razor back in those days. It was cool. Imagine right now you've left your smartphone home when you're out. What would be the most missing feature for you?
It would be Spotify. I am constantly listening to music and podcasts. So not having that, I would notice immediately I didn't have my phone because it was quiet.
Gotcha. So something is missing. What new app technology on your smartphone, software, hardware, or both, you go like, wouldn't it be great if that thing can do this? Not necessarily more, probably something that will help you to use your phone better, do something for you that is not capable of doing
This is
right
an
now.
interesting question. I think that the thing I'm most excited about is that the phones get smarter, or the operating systems get smarter about operating in a specific way for where you are at that point in your day or your week or your life. Like, one of my favorite things I just set up recently is like the work mode and all the do not disturb settings, where I
Right.
only get the notifications I want when I'm at work, and everything else that I will look at when I get home, I don't even see, I don't even get distracted by anymore. I feel like that's a direction that we're really heading, because the products have obviously so much potential, right? Unlimited things that you could do on them, that I think we're seeing the market shift to say, okay, we recognize that you might have 50 apps on your phone, but you're not going to look at them every day. So
Absolutely.
let's show you the recommendations that we know you're most interested in, right when you wake up in the morning, or during your workday, or as you're winding down at night, or on the weekends versus the weekdays. I'm really excited about that personalization and customization of how the phones deliver information to you throughout your day.
Right. So the smartphone as a device has been going on this path from being very limited in this functionality, just a few things it can do for you back in the day. And gradually it just became to add more and more stuff. And now we're at the point where it's just too much. If you're not regulating this beautiful thing in your pocket, it's just gonna ruin your life. You have to get your life back and use restrictions. Yeah, again, being able to say no at certain things, and smartphones should be able to help you with that.
Yeah, and sometimes you need a process because it's so hard to say no. That Instagram notification comes up. I don't always have the self-control. So I love that Apple's like, I got you. I just won't even show it to you when you're at work. It's great.
Right. That's smart. Okay, before I let you go, just a very final question. How can people get in touch with you and get more information about what you do?
Yeah, I think LinkedIn and Twitter are probably the two best places. I'm on LinkedIn as my full name, Erin Webster-Shaller. And then on Twitter, EEWebs is where you can find me.
That's great. Thank you, Erin. Thank you for coming on the show. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Art.
And that was Erin Webster-Shaller, VP Marketing and Lose It. To listen to more episodes, subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts. Just search for Business of Apps and you will find us easily. We release episodes on Mondays, so subscribe and you will be able to get new episodes on your smartphone, tablet, or computer as soon as we release them. And please don't forget to leave us a review or comment on iTunes. It is highly appreciated. And all episodes will also be available on businessofapps.com. Thank you for listening. See you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Business of Apps podcast. For more, head on over to businessofapps.com.